Welcome to Culture Unplugged, where the silence ends. I am Uncle Chris, so you can call me Chris. I am the host of the show, and I am a survivor of hazing. And so I look to tell the stories of those who can no longer speak for themselves and tell their side of the story. I do so with love, light, and grace. And tonight's story, the story you're going to be hearing from myself pretty soon, is no different. So if you're watching, we thank you and encourage you to subscribe. Keep this channel growing. This is a important free work that I do really to help guide people like yourself who just want to know why these things happen, put an end and draw awareness to the acts of hazing that has really plagued victims for years. Okay, over 105 student deaths have happened since the year 2000, and that number continuously continues to climb. So in order in an effort to help stop that, to slow that down, this work is important. So we thank you for being here. We thank you for choosing this channel. If you are a returning member, thank you for always sticking close to the channel. And we thank you for your support and just being able to share your comments, to share your feedback, and then of course sticking around for any video that I decide to drop. I try to drop videos as often as I can. Things happen, life happens. So with that in mind, I just try to take the time and the mental space, because these stories are pretty difficult to discuss. I'll be honest with you. And I'm sure you all can agree that it takes a lot to get through some of the saddest of stories. But I also think that there's a part of each story that brings some love and light and clarity for those who need a chance to reflect and a chance to see how we can do better as a community. So just a couple of things. Again, stay locked in. There'll be a couple of new lives that we're going to be having pretty soon, so I'm excited for that. You don't want to miss it. I don't want to give it out until it's ready to be shared, but so definitely I'm looking forward to those. I'll also say that as far as some of these stories, I have a plethora of more, to be honest, and I don't mean that to exploit these cases, but more so to share them with, again, respect to the love and light to the family and friends who knows each of these victims, or if you're just someone that belongs to an advocacy group or you want to see change, I'd love to connect further with you. So click or hit on my email at coveredincultured@gmail.com if you want to be a person to share your story, or you want to have a chance to have some dialogue with me. I'd love to have that on this channel. And you can do that also anonymously. So coveredincultured@gmail.com. And let's get into this story. This story made national headlines, and we're going to be talking about the Timothy Piazza story. Tim Piazza is one of those cases, I think similarly to like Sam Martinez and Nolan Birch, which we're also going to discuss his case in another video. There's just one of those type of stories that's heartbreaking. And if you're a parent, you're someone you want to make sure you protect your kids. That's obviously right. But if you're someone who's been through hazing, you'll definitely can look at some of these elements and say that there's a common denominator in how hazing continues to thrive, and that's in silence. And that's where it ends here. So stick around. This is where the silence ends. So just going to go ahead and say tonight we're going to be talking about Timothy Piazza's story, and his story made national headlines. It's one story that has troubled me just reading about it, and I want to share it with you. And let me put a disclaimer out there. I mean, no ill will and bad intentions to those who know Timothy Piazza, his story, his struggles, the challenge that he went through that ultimately cost him his life. We do this with love and light. We do this with respect. So let me just put that out there. Before I get into this story, I would like to take the opportunity to tell us a prayer, share a prayer with you. I usually like to do a prayer at the beginning or the end, but I think it's necessary to have a prayer because this obviously the victim is deceased. So because of this nature here, even though it was in 2017, just like any other story, I want to share that. So let's go ahead and do that with you. If you don't mind sharing with me, if you want to skip it, that's okay, but I feel humbled that I need to do that. So let's do it. Heavenly Father, help to guide me as I begin to tell the story of this young man, Timothy Piazza. Spread love and light to the family and friends and anyone who is watching this video in the name of Jesus. I ask, Heavenly Father, that you'll help to guide me in a way that not only provides clarity, but provides warmth to those who know and love him, and then also provide awareness so that we can help stop the spread of hazing in this country. In your holy name we pray, amen. Okay, so thank you so much. As I get this story going, I want to kind of dive in here, and so let's go with it. Imagine your son, your brother, or your best friend begging for help while those around him do nothing. In 2017, that was Tim Piazza. He was 19 years old and he died because of hazing. So today we break down the full story, the cover-ups, and why this case and many others still haunts Penn State. Penn State, I will say, let me just kind of get started here, has a history and known issue with hazing. So it's one of those type of cases where even though it happened in 2017, it astonishes me and saddens me that these are still cases that haunts Penn State, still happen today. And so I'll break down some of those as well as the particular fraternity that was involved in the hazing of Tim Piazza. So let's go into who was Tim Piazza. Tim Piazza was 19 years old. He was a Penn State sophomore, an engineering major. He's described as kind, hardworking, family-oriented, smart, athletic, humble, and rule-following. So he followed the rules. He was pretty much a well-rounded kid. He preferred the stability and had little interest in risky behavior. Tim loved Penn State football. He was all about being a part of the Penn State culture. He attended the games regularly and led a caring life. He volunteered with an organization called THON, which is a student-driven fundraising movement for pediatric cancer, and worked with 110 outreach programs supporting kids with special needs. He had a long-term relationship with his high school sweetheart, Caitlin Tempolsky, and the two had already discussed marriage and future plans, even dreaming of a shore house together. So unfortunately, these cases, it got cut short because of what this organization did to Tim. So let me go into it also. He's also originally from Lebanon, New Jersey, by the way. So if you're from New Jersey, much love to New Jersey there. So had a whole future, had a whole desire to continue on and live a life, prosperous life. And all of those things cut short. So we want to understand why and how this all happened here. I want to take you back to the night of February 2nd, 2017. The organization that's involved or was involved in this story was Beta Theta Pi. And so with this particular organization, it's had a long history, and it was founded actually in 1839. So Beta Theta Pi became part of this early national fraternity system. And so in the late 1990s, it launched the Men of Principle Initiative, later renamed the John and Nellie Wooden Institute. And this was aiming to really promote the safer chapters. And so by 2013, it had closed over 85 chapters for failing to meet behavior standards. Okay, so 85 it took from by 2013, there was already been a substantial number of chapters that were essentially closed because I had a history of a problem. That bothers me, that even after that, knowing that there's been this history, something happened where this organization and at Penn State, conduct was overlooked or hidden. We're going to find out a little bit more here. So yet all this knowing this, the misconduct persisted. So notable closures for hazing and behavioral violations included even Wesleyan, and it included racist and sexist misconduct. University of California, Santa Barbara, hospitalized pledges. At NC State, substance policy violations. A whole multitude of different occurrence of cases where Tim Piazza should be still here and alive. So it had this reputation of this, what they call or deemed as this dry fraternity at the campus. But behind closed doors, that it became obviously a different scenario here. So I want to also take it back also to Penn State's chapter in more focus on that particular chapter. That chapter was called the Alpha Upsilon chapter. Just kind of ahead of time speaking, the chapter no longer exists. Okay, so the Alpha Upsilon chapter at Penn State was hailed as this model dry house, strict alcohol-free rules, live-in supervision, and even video surveillance. Following its reconstitution after a 2009 suspension. Again, at this particular chapter of Beta Theta Pi, it still continued. These problems still continued to happen. So 2009 had a suspension. They had to go through and do video surveillance, yet this happened. We're going to figure out why. So despite the model status, pledges reported severe hazing during the Hell Week and bid acceptance rituals. So in September 2016, a pledge named Cordell Davis suffered a head injury during hazing and required clinical care. On bid acceptance night, so you have bid acceptance is pretty much the process if you want to be a part of the organization, you become the bid to be on that particular chapter or that acceptance to get into membership. So on bid acceptance night, February 2nd, 2017, that infamous, what they call the gauntlet, it's like a event, essentially forced pledges to drink large amounts of alcohol without designated sober monitors. Pledges including Piazza. Let me get into this story a little bit more here before I get into continuing that. So this gauntlet, this is a hazing ritual that forced pledges to rapidly consume beer, wine, and vodka in a short time span. So very dangerous. I don't have to tell you how dangerous that can be if you're drinking alcohol that like Everclear or different types of forms of alcohol, beer, wine, and vodka. We all know the outcome isn't good. Okay, so he was forced to do that in a short space of time. Surveillance footage later released to the public showed Tim visibly intoxicated. He was staggering. He was unable to even stand. So visibly and uncontrollably, he's pretty much drunk. Drinking all these different forms of alcohol. And then you have these other young people that are forcing and egging it on and keeping this nature to keep going. His condition is worsening, and in their eyes, they're like, it's all part of the process. This is just a routine situation for us. So let's just kind of go into what happens to exactly Tim Piazza further here. And again, let me warn you that what I'm going to share with you may be a little bit difficult to hear. So just putting that caution there. He fell down. Tim Piazza fell down a 15-foot flight of stairs head first. So I can't even describe what that essentially constituted for him. That everybody else has seen that. Ultimately, it led to a cover-up. Fraternity brothers saw him in distress. They didn't call for help. Instead, they slapped him, threw water on him, and ignored his pain. He was in serious distress. Over the next 12 hours, Tim's condition worsened. So essentially, it kept on going. His situation kept on getting worse. There was a delay in calling 911. Where have we heard those similar situations like that happen with? A lot of other organizations, recent cases of hazing in different fraternities or sororities, where when something happens, something tragic happens, there's this cover up where what are we going to do to save ourselves rather than how are we going to fix and help fix this? This is what essentially happened, and it became a huge national case. So I'm going to go into it as a little further here. So you got to think, this has happened to Tim, the worst possible case scenario. He falls. But again, over the next 12 hours, Tim's condition worsened. Vomiting, unresponsive, and then basically all these are clear signs of a brain injury. So a traumatic brain injury and unfolds for Tim, and no one does anything. People watch, people probably still drunk, and essentially there's just no other further help on that end. So his death was on February 4th, 2017, and he also faced a ruptured spleen, it looks like from my notes here. So let's kind of go into why didn't anyone call 911? We all know why they didn't call 911. We wanted to, obviously, it's a fear at that point, everybody panicking. But the fact that no one called for any kind of help over the next 12 hours is the part that troubles me the most. This is this fear, obviously, of getting caught, getting in trouble, this groupthink, like toxic fraternity culture. That's also a part of there, is that, hey, you know, we need to figure out a way that it's another angle on how this works. We need to figure out a way that, you know, he got too drunk, he got hurt. It's caught on camera. Like, there was actually video surveillance of him actually falling down those flight of stairs. And of course, we all know that this don't snitch mentality, this mentality of, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm gonna protect the organization rather than protect the victim. So by the time the ambulance was called, guys, of course we already know this story, it was too late. It was too late. So let's look at the aftermath here. What exactly happened after that? How did the organization get disciplined? And then, of course, those who are involved, you know, what exactly happened afterwards? So essentially, it led to some people were charged. So 26 fraternity members were charged, but many got plea deals or reduced sentences. So basically a slap on the wrist, like I've seen in many of these cases. Thank God that the Stop Campus Hazing Act was passed on a federal level to start bringing more awareness to these hazing cases and draw, you know, a tougher stances. But also in these states where these cases, especially Tim's, happened, actual laws were passed. But there are also states that don't have the tough laws where they should, and hazing cases have happened there. But let me not divert here. So the fraternity was shut down at the actual organization. Beta Theta Pi was shut down, but Penn State resisted real change. And that's why I believe that more of these cases of hazing have happened. Most recently, Phi Beta Sigma now in the spotlight of hazing at that campus as well. The Piazza family fought for anti-hazing laws. So the family obviously, you know, devastated, you know, as any family would be. If you're a parent and you're watching this story, you can't imagine, I can't imagine what it is like to get a phone call 9-10 o'clock at night. You just came back from going out to the movies with your husband, or going out somewhere taking care of things. You're in the middle of life, right? You're concerned. You maybe even thought about your son or your daughter, what their day was like at college the day before, or what they might be doing right now. You get that phone call from state police saying, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, your son or your daughter has been killed or either had an accident. You're going to hear all those things. This has happened, and we need you to come down and identify or whatnot. Like, those are kind of calls no parent deserves or needs to have in relation to their kid who is going to college to get an education, not to find out that their life was cut short pledging in an organization or a chapter that fostered hazing as a form of membership. So this is where I just, as a survivor myself, I understand why this continues to be prevalent, but it deserves parents and it deserves students to start speaking up. So it should have never happened. It should have never happened. So let me go into this. So they fought for anti-hazing laws, and it helped to pass the Timothy J. Piazza Anti-hazing Law in Pennsylvania. So this is why I'm happy to see that real change happens when essentially a law gets passed and it's saying enough is enough. We cannot have more or anyone else deal with hazing or have any kind of institution of hazing at the school. The problem is that it continued. The culture of hazing never left Penn State. And so I want to go into a little bit more of the law itself and just kind of give you guys a snapshot of what I found here. So the Tim Piazza law here, let me go into it just a little bit. So basically the key provisions here, and I really want to share this with you. It establishes a tiered penalty system. Any serious hazing resulting in death or serious injury is now a third-degree felony, punishable by 3 to 5 years in prison, and includes fines of up to $15,000. Hazing leading to a bodily injury is upgraded from a disorderly person's offense to a fourth-degree felony. It holds individuals, student organizations, and institutions responsible for hazing behavior, and mandates schools and universities to maintain publicly posted written anti-hazing policies, reporting all violations of hazing-related laws, enforces the penalties from fines and probation to revoking recognition, introduces the safe harbor protections for anyone seeking medical help for someone in distress during a hazing incident, and it authorizes the confiscation of fraternity housing where severe hazing occurs. So this was enacted in 2021, August, and of course named in honor of Tim Piazza. The law similarly upgrades hazing penalties from a fourth-degree crime to a third-degree crime if death or serious injury occurs, from a disorderly person's offense to a fourth-degree felony. So serious laws, serious penalties, I should say, for hazing in that state, in Pennsylvania, and also looks like in New Jersey as well. So New Jersey, that particular law was enacted as well. So these are serious cases that I'm happy to see. And this law was actually passed in 2018. So it was passed first in 2018, Tim's law, and then also similarly in New Jersey, just to clear that up. But both states taking a stance. He was from New Jersey, so they did, have to take care of him in his honor. But I'd like to see all states get this type of hazing, anti-hazing stance. Just to kind of let you know, also recently the actual fraternity house that where Timothy Piazza died, the school went ahead and took ownership of that. Since of course the organization is no longer on that campus, they took ownership of the actual fraternity house and are going to, their pledge is to repurpose it for a positive means. We don't know what that exactly means, what type of steps, what kind of positive entity they will use it for, but they've taken the next steps to try to make good on that, and it should have done a long time, but things happen. Things are a work in progress. So at least I think I feel good to know that they're gonna at least try to do something better with that particular fraternity house and change some things around. But we've got to figure out why these cases are continuing to come up with Penn State, and how we as a community can be a coalition against anti-hazing. If you're someone who's watching this and you're saying, "Oh, what can we do?" Ask the questions from admissions departments of any of these schools, and find out what is their status on anti-hazing. There's a new law that was passed. It's still in its infancy, I'd say, even though it's been 6 months since it was passed back in December of last year with the Stop Campus Hazing Act. This particular act, it forces schools to be transparent on hazing, and they have to have the data on there. You can go to the hazinginfo.org, which was founded by the Martinez family. And so the mom spoke with her, Sam Martinez, the mother of Sam Martinez, spoke with her and had her very candidly share the data. So I want to make sure that you do your part to do the research, find out as much as you can to help prevent these stories from happening again, because we've got to get serious about anti-hazing in this country. So I just want to say again, these are some of the stories that are heartbreaking to talk about, in my opinion. And speaking to mothers and parents about hazing, these are one of those things that never easy. So Jolene House, by the way, I just got a little brain fart there, but Jolene House was the parent that I did speak with about her son, Sam Martinez, and she shared her story. So if you haven't watched that video, you can watch that particular interview, and heartbreaking stuff for what she went through. So let me kind of get going, because I don't want to go too off the rails here. So this wasn't a one-time tragedy here. Hazing deaths, they happen every year. I don't seek to, I don't think that what I do will help end hazing everywhere. But if I could just save one life, just one, then I know I've done my part to help in this fight, because it's a coalition, it's a movement, it's something that's going to take, to be honest with you, a league of people. It's going to take you as well at home, wherever you're watching this video, to stand up and speak on campuses, make sure that these schools are being held accountable, especially if they've had any hazing cases. How are they accepting these stories, these submissions, as far as hazing? Those are some questions you want to find out. What steps has the school taken to prevent hazing? We need to know that information. So since the year 2000, over 105 students have died from hazing in the United States. Beta Theta Pi, even though they have had their history and evil, dark past, they still exist. And so do countless of other hazing fraternities and sororities and organizations. Hazing is prevalent. So we already know here, I want to leave with this final thought. Tim didn't have to die, but the system that allowed this to happen is still in place. So if you're in an organization that normalizes hazing, I need you to speak up. We aren't anti-Greek, we're just anti-hazing. That's the difference and focus that I need you to understand. We're not focused on Divine Nine, we're not focused on just white organizations, we're not just focused on football teams where hazing occurs, or marching bands. We're focused on wherever hazing exists. And so if that is essentially where it is, this is where I come in to take my flashlight and say enough is enough, that the silence ends, and it ends here. But I need you to speak up. None of that happens. None of that anti-hazing happens until we start getting serious and we start speaking up for victims like Tim Piazza. If you're being hazed, if you're someone who's been in my shoes, where you feel isolated, you feel like you're in a dark space, you feel as though it's happened, even if it's been 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even 20 years ago. But what happened to you during those event nights, those week nights, even on the weekends, where you were huddled with other classmates that you knew, sweating profusely, still in pain, can't walk, limping, feeling like you're dying inside? This is your time. This is your power that I want to give you to share your story. We come with love and light. We give honor through grace and good. And we allow the Lord, my God, to be able to move and protect. And we do that with conscious grace and respect. So would love to be able to speak with you, help you share your story. You're not alone. I'm someone that I'd like to help guide you through that pain. So if you're watching this and you're thinking that, you know what, this could have been me, right? Or maybe it couldn't have been you, right? I want you to share this story, share Tim's story, because it's the awareness I truly believe that will save lives. Again, if you are new here, or if you're someone who's after this watching this video, you feel moved and you're so inclined to, please subscribe for more of these survivor stories and then investigations and the fight to help end hazing. Your job, your essential, my job is to help prevent more of these cases from happening, but I need your help. So I hope that you enjoyed watching, at least helping what our next steps are going to be to help end hazing by sharing this video. I'd love to hear your feedback. What do you think of Tim Piazza and his story? What's your questions? Do you have any questions about his case or any other case? And maybe if you know of a story that you'd like me to share next, please do so and leave a comment. We'd love to be able to give honor and respect to the decedent and victims. And we hope that Penn State at this point, if anyone from Penn State is watching, we hope that the continued action of anti-hazing continues, that this is something that we're not going to see again as a community coming out of Penn State, even though there's recent cases have occurred with Penn State. I trust that Penn State will take the next best action and considering the law that was upgraded in that state with Tim's law. So with love and light to the family and friends that knew Tim, we hope that we're able to tell this story at its full accuracy, and we give full respect as well. So thank you so much for watching. This is where the silence ends.